Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you taking the time. Let's start off with what is the worst piece of body image advice you've ever heard?
Oh, that's a good way to start because I always get asked what is the best. I think the worst piece of body image advice is to focus on how your body looks as opposed to how your body feels or what you can do with your body. Body image is how we perceive what we think, what we think our bodies look like. And um, where we want to be a realist about this. Human beings are always going to care to a certain degree about what they look like, and that's cool. And we hold no judgment in this body image movement for any choice that people make about their own bodies. But what we do want is for people to focus more on how their bodies feel and what they can do with their bodies as opposed to what their bodies look like. So just strike that balance. It's not black and white. It's not hard and fast. It's just like, just do a little bit more focusing on the feeling as opposed to the looking, and it will make you happier.
What's a myth about self-love that you wish would disappear?
Oh, self-love. I'm into I love self-love, self-appreciation, self-compassion. It's all so important. What I would want people to know is that it's not fluffy. It's not a light touch point is self-love. It's actually everything. The relationship that you have with yourself in life is the most important relationship. And the sooner that we can master and harness that relationship to propel ourselves forward in life and to back ourselves and to be kind to ourselves and self-compassionate to ourselves, um, the more success we'll have.
Hmm.
For a long time, there's been a narrative around, and I'm 47 now, so I guess the more decades that you're around, you become a little bit wiser. And I reflect back on my 20s and 30s and thought how hard I was on myself to get certain outcomes. And I just wish that I'd known a little bit sooner that it's actually kindness to yourself. And when things fail or when there's a challenge, it's okay. I just think the world's cruel, the world's hard, the world's tough. But one thing that we have agency over is how we treat ourselves. And that's really critical.
What were some of those outcomes that you wish that you could turn back and treat yourself a little differently?
The outcomes. I just think the mental load and the amount of time that perhaps I wasted in berating myself or giving myself a hard time. And in particular, when it came to my body, wishing that it looked a different way than what it did. I think that's the one thing that we can all do. If we realize that sooner than later, what a rich and abundant and adventurous life we can all access. Once we realize that we were all born into the world really different, and diversity is the most beautiful thing. Like I always tell young people, we wouldn't want to look all the same. Like this is what makes us human beings. It would be very boring if we all looked the same. But I guess what I want people to know is that you weren't born into the world hating your body either.
Hmm.
It is something that the world has taught you. And people sometimes I wish I could feel better about my body. And I'm like, well, don't waste too much time wishing because it ain't going to happen. It's not going to fall on your lap. And nor is it a process of flicking a switch going, well, I'm just going to embrace my body and feel good about my body. And off you go sailing off into the sunset. That doesn't happen either. It's not a linear process. There's a lot of ups and downs and ebbs and flows. Our bodies are always changing. So we have to put in the work, but putting in the work has a very, the output and what you get from the work is, it's like a superpower in life. I know what I know what it feels like to hate my body, and I know what it feels like to embrace my body. And it's just like I was good before, like my productivity, but now it's like it's like supercharging everything, whether it's work, productivity, output, and then the other things too, relationships and relationship with yourself and the joy that I extract from life. It's a beautiful perspective, is being at peace with your body.
Do you think people that have never hated their body can actually love their body?
People who have never hated their body can love. I think anyone can love their body regardless of their circumstances, but also really important that we don't want to promote people to love their body, because you could like your body, and body neutrality is just as powerful. And I think because of the type of person and the way that I'm wired, when I hated my body and then I learned to love my body, I was like, I want the whole world to love theirs too. And it was probably 5 or 6 years ago now, someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, Taryn, it is just impossible for me to even consider loving my body, but I could like my body. And I just remember that moment in time where I thought, of course, we're all so different. The journey looks different for everybody. And I guess that's why the embrace message globally has resonated with so many people. You know, we've reached 200 million people across the globe. I think there's something in it for everybody, because it's not do this or be this. It's like, what does it mean to you?
Mm.
And how can you just embrace a little bit more? And then I think what happens is, and I've watched this journey in many, many people, they learn to do one or two things, they feel a bit better about their bodies, and it opens up their heart space and their minds to the possibility of, what else can I do? How else could I embrace? And it's like a muscle that you grow in the gym, you know, the way you feel about yourself and your body image. And I've never met anyone to this day who has learned to embrace their body and regretted the decision to do so. Like, it should come with 100% money back guarantee, and the health benefits of embracing your body. And what all of the data and research tells us is that it's good for our body. It's good for our mental health. It's good for our physical well-being. So I'm just glad that we're now having a conversation that has elevated this, oh, love your body, and body image being about women and weight. It's so much more than that. It's so powerful, and it's exactly what so many women across the world need to do right now, is feel good about themselves so they can all be all the world needs them to be.
I love that, and I love women too. Women is like my whole
Excuse
brand,
me.
basically. I love yeah.
Sorry,
So
when I have a swig, I don't have a glass. This is, people can see us, right? Or is it just audio?
yes, people can see us.
Okay, well, don't mind me when I have a swig. I'm in a hotel room and I don't have a glass in here, so I just need
all
to drink
good.
water.
We're human beings. We're just being human. So
Thank you.
what is a boundary that you feel like you set maybe early on in this journey that has really changed your life for the better?
I probably had to put a few boundaries on myself, but I'm just trying to think, what boundaries have I put on other people? I think maybe there's something around expectations, and I've put some boundaries for myself about the amount of time that I worry about what other people are thinking. For such a long time, people didn't understand the message. I had some photographs that went viral in 2013, and I was kind of catapulted onto into the media spotlight to talk about body image. And for such a long time, all I could think was, no one is taking me seriously. No one understands the severity of this problem. And I had to really dig deep in those early days. And there's a quote by Steve Martin, and he says, "Be so good they can't ignore you." And I had to apply that sort of principle every day. So in terms of boundaries, I'm not sure if that kind of answers the question, but I think it really was about myself and how much energy I was going to invest in what other people thought, or their lack of vision that only I could hold at that time. Um, how much time am I going to waste worrying about that? I think that was a boundary for myself.
You mentioned as we get older, we have more experience and we feel better in our body and we have more to us, right? And I have felt that myself. I'm now in my mid 30s. Do you think that we can get there earlier, like realistically?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I honor the wisdom that comes with age, and I strongly believe there are things that you just can't learn in your 20s and 30s, that might come later, or even from from being 8 or 9 years of age, or being a teenager. You don't know things until decades have passed. So yes, I honor that in terms of wisdom. However, if we go right back to the very beginning, the work that we do is very focused on the prevention of eating disorders and body image issues. how do we armor our young people and send them out into the world feeling good about their bodies in a world that tells them to be anything other than what they are? How do they feel so good and feel so protected by those messages? And so we weren't born into the world hating our bodies. I think we need to remember that. It is not actually normal to hate our bodies. This is not the way it was meant to be. And if you look at, really young toddlers who hear music and they dance, or they see a sprinkler like water or a pool, and they don't care if they're nudie, they just go and they jump in the water, and they're fully themselves, their whole selves. So that's the trajectory that we would like to keep people on. And in terms of collecting wisdom along the way, I think it's just about being open. And I actually really have been enjoying lately intergenerational friendships. People who are younger, I feel so inspired. People who are older, who I'm learning from. Like, I think age is just a number. But I definitely feel very inspired to get everyone who's on the road of hating their body off that road as quickly as possible. And I want people to know that it is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the different ages, and age is really just a number, and really aging is a privilege denied to a lot of people. So you're talking about embracing. Embracing is obviously your whole brand, but what is the difference really between embracing and accepting?
It's probably one of the same.
Okay.
Body acceptance and accepting your body is part of embracing your body. It's everything. And that body acceptance, when I was talking before about loving your body, body neutrality, we actually focus very much on body acceptance,
Okay.
and say reducing body commentary, body appearance commentary, and just being accepting that this is what we've got. You only get one body. You can't, trade it in. And
Mhm.
even that in itself, like this body, for me, I often reflect and I do lots of gratitude practices that aren't so much like affirmations in the mirror. It's just all the time. Whenever, I was at the gym recently, and I've been working on my first chin up, and it's taken me 8 months, and now I can do I can do 2.5 chin ups, and I'm so proud. But taking the moment to be in awe and wonder of the things that our bodies can do, I think
Mhm.
that's a practice that really propels us forward in life. And I think it's a practice that we need to engage in, because we live in a world that isn't so accepting of diversity, our bodies, but different shapes, sizes, and abilities. We've kind of tried to, the world sometimes, and advertising and cosmetic, diet, beauty industries have had a real crack at making us feel pretty bad about the bodies that we've got. And I opted out a long time ago, and it feels really good.
First of all, snaps for the 2.5 chin ups. Way to go. I
Thank you.
love
It's
that.
actually really, you would know, it's really hard. Like,
So hard. Yeah. And I love that you said
thank
half,
you.
because that half rep absolutely counts.
Yes, I know, because when I was trying to get to the first one, I was like, I'm sure that's 0.25. I'm sure that's a quarter. And
Yeah.
so it was just, uh, chipping away at that goal. But to do that at 47, it's like, cool. Like, not even 17-year-old or 27 me could do that. And I think
Yeah.
that's the possibility of this whole embrace philosophy. There's so
Exactly.
many reasons to feel good in our bodies.
And just like you said, these small little shifts get you closer to your ultimate goal, which is like fully embracing your body. So, what advice would you have for women that logically understand that's what they need to do or should do, but just struggle like getting there emotionally?
Mm. I think it's about making a choice. I think it's about maybe answering the question, what has hating your body cost you?
Mm.
It's a pretty easy answer. There's a multitude of answers I've heard. It's cost me I didn't go for the job because I didn't think I looked the part. I didn't participate in the swim at the beach with my little ones because I was embarrassed about my body. Um, it, Anyone who's listening who struggles with their body image will know the answers. And it's like, it's cost us a lot. And I think it's just about knowing that it doesn't have to be that way. One of the most powerful things that I did to go from hating my body to feeling good about embracing my body was a reframe. Reframes are just the most simplest things that we can do. Um, For example, my legs, they've got cellulite and stretch marks, and that's one way of looking at my legs. The other way is you've run 2 marathons, incredible legs that have done so much for me. Or I often say, I'm very strong, but my arms, they are the world's friendliest arms. I used to hate, and anyone's watching, I used to hate this part of my arms, and I'd wave goodbye to somebody, and I'd stop waving and my arms would still, keep waving. And I used to hate them and hide them away. And I think, no, no, no. The reframe is, my gosh, you can bench press 150 pounds. You're strong. You get to cuddle your children with these arms. Like, we all have the possibility to find the reasons to like or love body parts that we don't. And it just takes some practice and time. It takes some education. And it takes a little bit of work, but I promise you that the work is worth it, because it opens up a space in your life for more fun, adventure, joy, using your voice more, saying yes more when you used to say no. It's a wild, wonderful life when you're at peace with your body, and you can all do that.
Did you have like one specific moment that you were like, I can't do this to myself anymore. I need to make a change. I need to make a reframe.
Good question. I mean, I think I did a bodybuilding competition. That was when I was kind of I want to get the perfect body because I hate the body that I'm in. And for me, that moment of arriving in the perfect bikini body and actually not being happy, because for my body shape to look like it was took so much time and punishment and calorie counting and hours at the gym. I mean, and I love eating well. I love moving my body. I love all of that, but it took so much more for my body shape to look like that. And I think that was the real moment of, I can't do this anymore, and opened up, the mind to thinking, well, how do I make peace with my body, feel good in my body, and what does that look like? And it was the moment of the realization that my body is not an ornament. It is the vehicle in life. I'm here to do and feel, contribute, and extract as much as I can from it. And this is just the vehicle that I do it in. And I really want to appreciate and be as grateful as I can, because it's done a lot over the years. And I want it to do a whole lot more. More importantly, I want to be around for a really long time. And hating my body is actually not one of the behaviors I want to adopt if I want to be around in a really healthy, vibrant, energized body. Because what we know, and I'm sure you know this, body dissatisfaction leads people to, they're a lot unhealthier. Let me go the other way. Body appreciation, when you feel good in your body, you're more likely to eat fruit and vegetables. You're more likely to move your body. You're more likely to have stable weight over time. You're less likely to drink, smoke, vape, take illicit drugs, do all the things we don't want to do. It makes sense to have that embracing principle in your life. And especially for the people who I'm assuming are listening and watching this, for that long-term longevity and for getting the most out of their health journey, whatever that is a big piece of the puzzle, is not hating your body and embracing your body. And it's really important to get right.
I think it's so valuable to hear that you figured this out at a bodybuilding competition, which those of you that don't know, you are literally on stage in a bikini in quote unquote the best body that you could possibly have. And inside you're saying, I did not like my body. I didn't like who I was or what I was doing. So how does it feel now to know that you were at this, I'm putting this in quotes for those of you that are not watching this, society deems as the most healthy, fit, best looking body, to where you are today?
How do I feel about going from that body to the one I've got now?
Yeah.
I feel great because I'm balanced, because health isn't just physical, it's emotional health and spiritual and mental health. And I have a balance of all of those things. Whereas back then it was just, how do I look? and it robbed me of thinking about those other critical aspects of health. So I've never felt more confident.
Mhm.
I've never felt more content and happy. I've never had as much energy. I'm doing things with my body that I wasn't able to do. Like, it feels like it's getting stronger and better. And I think it's, because of the work that I've done around body image. And I guess that's why, a delight to be here to connect with you and and hopefully inspire your audience as well to not only go to the gym and do the, bench press and do the chin ups and do all the stuff. All of that is amazing, but also have this edge, which is the mental edge of embracing and feeling
Yeah.
good in your body.
I ask that too because I get a lot of clients or a lot of women that'll come to me and say, "Oh, I wish that I was this weight when I was in my 20s or pre-baby, or look at the way I looked." And the first thing I always ask them is, "How did you feel?" And they know that they didn't feel great at that moment, but they're like, "But look at what I looked like." And they always go
Mm.
back to that physical, aesthetic looking body. So it's exactly what you're saying, right? Reframing, going back into like, how did you actually feel? But is there any other little piece of advice that you can give someone that's like constantly like pre-baby, or this phase of my life is what I want to go back to?
Yeah, I mean, it's a trap, isn't it? It's an easy
Yeah.
trap to fall into, and it's very easy for us to wish that we had something that we don't anymore, or
Yeah.
reflect backwards. But the reality is, the body that you've got today is the body that you've got, and
Yeah.
how are you going to move forward in that body? And I just, please don't underestimate the mental load of hating your body, or giving your body a hard time, or talking about dieting, or talking about whatever it is you're talking about. Um, don't underestimate that. And I think if there's one thing I would love everyone, who's in your audience listening to do, is to make a commitment. I'm never going to say anything negative about my body or anyone else's body again. I ask this of all the audiences that I speak to take that away as homework, because I actually think that's the fastest way to
Mhm.
global change, is if we all just did that one small thing that we're all very capable of. Now, it doesn't mean if you've got body image issues that you of course talk to somebody, but I'm talking about the dialogue that happens everywhere. I was in the lift last night in my hotel and I heard two women talking about their bodies. It's almost like tuned in life to hear all the stories, but it happens so much. And just remember that when you're saying those negative things about your body's listening. It doesn't feel very good. It doesn't feel like you're putting your best foot forward by holding yourself back with negative commentary. Like, we've got to be mindful of our words.
I can think of several times in the past week where that happened. It's crazy, it just happens all the time. But you mentioned diet culture. Diet culture
Mhm.
is very real, very prevalent, and can be super sneaky for a lot of people. It's repackaged as wellness and it's like clean eating now. So, how can women spot these like harmful messages as they're disguised as like these healthy messages?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely resources. Just trying to think off the top of my head, maybe this is show notes, but there's certainly um, accounts on social media to follow that dispel some of this. I mean, you would be one of those people, and I assume that your community is smart enough to see it when it's presented to them. But I think it's like we always need to have like a hyper vigilance around it, because you are so right. It is real sneaky.
Mhm.
And I think if we could just go back to some of the basics around diet and diet culture. I mean, I often joke diet is a four-letter word, and the first three letters spelled die. Like, I think it was always a sign that we should never have spent so many years dieting. And, of course, what it does to us is puts us on this cycle of, weight loss, weight gain, extra weight gain. It's horrendous. I think if there's one thing around the language we use about food is to not give it any moral value. I don't like talking about good food or bad food, because I don't want to eat a piece of chocolate and feel bad or guilty about it. I think we know what to do. I think it doesn't have to be that hard. And I think a little bit of hypervigilance around it initially helps people to see it for what it is, even in advertising, and when I talked about beauty, diet culture, cosmetic industries, it's so, for such a long time, it's been normalized that it's part of the narrative. But if we just remember that we are who we are, and we don't have to change what we look like, or we don't have to eradicate wrinkles, or we don't have to do any of that. We don't have to buy into any of that. It wasn't around 100 years ago, and we were perfectly okay without it. I think it's just also who's saying what and what are they selling to you. I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. So just be careful and discerning about whose advice you're taking on.
Absolutely. Excuse me. What kind of advice would you give to someone that is now wanting to embrace their body, but they're scared of maybe other people seeing them or seeing themselves as like letting themselves go?
Yeah, it's an interesting narrative, this letting yourself go.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned earlier, when people embrace their bodies and appreciate their bodies, they're more likely to move their bodies, eat fruit and vegetables, wear sunscreen, do all the things. Like the list of reasons why you would want to embrace your body is so long.
Yeah.
There is no list on the other side of why you shouldn't embrace your body. And this is all research. This is all data. This is not feelings or I think. This is what the academics have been telling us for a really long time. I think probably what I've not mentioned in this entire chat is for a long time, there was this misconception that we needed to make people feel bad about their bodies for them to choose positive health behaviors. But all of the research and data now tells us that when we make people feel good about their bodies, empowered, they're more likely to make better choices. So when you say about the judgment of letting go, I actually think it's a stepped process before that, where we've just got to keep talking about what body appreciation does for us and what shame and stigma does for us. It kind of makes, with or without the research, it kind of makes a lot of sense. You are more likely to look after something that you feel good about. Fact, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So other people's judgments, I mean, it's not easy, especially when it's family and friends. But I think if people knew what to say, and even if it's just a couple of the sentences that I've just shared, that embracing your body is good for your body, good for physical health and mental well-being, like that's
Yeah.
all it needs to be.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the family and friends or people around you. So, you know, I'm sure we can always change the people around us to make them more positive and not talk bad about their bodies. But what if it is family? What if I have a mom that constantly calls herself fat, even though I weigh 30 pounds more than her? What if it's someone that's in your social circle that just is constantly talking about it? How could we, how could we, set a boundary or what could we say?
Yeah, I think the most effective conversations I've had with people when it comes to this chat around body image is carving out the time to have a proper conversation, as opposed to in the moment something said, and you sort of almost dive into an argument or a back and forth exchange of words that doesn't feel like it gets sort of anywhere. What I would do, and I know because I've recommended this to people over the years and it's worked, if you have a family member or a friend or somebody who is negatively impacting your body image, something needs to be done about it. You're worth it. You deserve to say something and put a boundary in place. The most effective way to have that conversation is to say, ring that person and say, hey, I want to have a catch up and have a chat about something that's really important to me. And then the person will go, oh, what is it? And the person will say, let's just talk in person. Let's talk face to face. All of a sudden, this conversation has been elevated in that person's mind to, whoa, this is really serious. And then you meet and then you share your thoughts and feelings. And then there's an ask, could you please stop talking about my body, weight, diet? This is really important to me. I think it's effective because we've elevated a conversation that sometimes can get lost in translation between the human exchange of I'm right, you're wrong. It doesn't even have to be an argument. Just I think that kind of style of conversation can be sometimes it doesn't get us anywhere. But if we're calling up somebody and heightening the seriousness of this conversation, then it heightens their perception of the seriousness for you. And even if they don't get it, by carving out a window of time, it makes it serious. So, and this is the thing, people go, oh, that feels a bit uncomfortable. I'm like, yeah, but how uncomfortable is it for you to continue to receive for the rest of your life comments that drag you down, pull you under, that come back and, haunt you, when you're getting ready next time and wearing an outfit and you hear your mum or your mother-in-law or your friends saying things about your body. Like, in the scheme of things, that 20-minute conversation is really worthwhile to protect yourself in the future of thoughts that aren't very kind.
I think too, and this comes with fitness and health in general, the more you show that you're embracing your body, the more you show that you're bench pressing 150 pounds, which we didn't talk about that because that's awesome. The more you show up.
Did you like the way I slipped it in though?
Yes. I was like, we just slipped that by, but I was like, 150 pounds is amazing too. Let's talk about I'm a strength training coach, so I love all things strength. But the more you talk about it and the more you embrace it, I like to call this like the confidence pyramid scheme. The more that you can show it, the more you can give it to other people, and then the more they can give it to other people, and we can just build this like huge life of this, right? And so it's really valuable to have this conversation to set that boundary, but also like having little reminders for these women so that then they can show other people the same as well. So
totally. It actually, I love that confidence pyramid scheme.
yeah,
I will. Do you use that quote a lot? It's very
yeah,
clever.
I do. Yeah.
Okay, I have to share that with my people so they know that there's a fabulous person who says confidence pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Pyramid scheme. I think the other thing it does for people, yeah, you're right. It almost sets them free, and it actually challenges their own self-beliefs around this. So we can all
Yeah.
go on that party together. And that's the other thing I recommend to people is when you've decided, okay, I'm done with hating my body and doing all the things, and I want to learn to embrace, having a couple of accountability buddies around you is so powerful. And that's a conversation you could have with 1, 2, 3, or 4 of your best friends, get them into a room and say, this is what I'm planning to do. And it's going to be quite revolutionary in my life to live the next 50, 60 years feeling good about myself, but it's the commitment that I've made to myself. And I want you guys to know that. And there's a film that I made, gosh, it's back in 2016 called, would you believe it, Embrace. That film, there were some researchers, Professor Ivanka Pritchard and Associate Professor Dr. Zali Yeager. They did a global study on this film, and it showed to increase body appreciation. Now, a film from back in 2016, we were still talking about magazines back then. Imagine, we're talking about AI now. So it feels like it's old, but the heart of that film is still there, and it helps women. And this has been published in a medical journal. So I would encourage people who want to go, let's do this, maybe to sit down with your girlfriends and watch the film and have a chat. It was always designed just to open up a heart space and possibility, because that's what storytelling does for us. When we hear other people's stories, it gives us hope and we feel seen and we feel better about our own bodies and lives. But that's what I would love. Make a pact with your friends, watch a film, and go on that journey together.
If you're on this embracing your journey, if you're on this new journey of embracing your body, can you still get caught into the comparison trap or back to, feeling negative about your body easily? And how can you get out of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, unfortunately, the way that we're wired in our brains is that we're wired for comparison. So we are always and often, and it's not something that we can change. It's hardwired in this one, where our brains are always comparing what we think somebody else looks like to how we think that we look like. So I think that's where the self-compassion piece comes in. That we need to practice, accepting the thought, seeing the thought, and then sort of equaling out that equation with another balanced thought. Can you get yourself, off track, or some people call it, off the wagon, or whatever they describe it as, Of course. Because our bodies are always changing. And just when you think you've kind of mastered one area of your life, you have a baby, or you've got a postpartum body, or you're going through menopause, or like there's a lot, especially women's bodies, we change a lot. It even happened to me. So I've had a couple of what I describe as wobbly moments, only a couple, because once I decided to embrace my body and feel good about it, I was on that mission to do the work and show up every day to do the work so I could feel the way I feel consistently. But I remember last year I was in New Zealand and I went, I think it's parasailing when you jump off a big cliff. And I needed to get weighed. For obvious reasons, they need to know how much you weigh. But the man put it in red texture on my hand, and I immediately was like, oh, because I don't weigh myself because it's not good for me. I need to have other health metrics because I get too obsessed with the number and it makes me want to diet. So I sort of walked away from that world about 12 or 13 years ago. But really interesting how triggered I was by the number. And then my girlfriend got weighed. So of course I was like, oh, what's her number? Because that's what we do. And I just thought to myself, wow. And I observed the thought and I talked to my girlfriend about it. I think I've written a blog about it as well, because I think it's important for the community to know that even someone who has such an exceptional body image like the way I do, like it's hardcore, like I feel good, can have a moment where you're like, oh, this doesn't feel so good. I think it's then you just need to load up with self-compassion. You need to go back to the steps that you've taken or the things that you've worked. But also what I've found is that you build up a pretty solid foundation, the longer that you do it. That the moment for me was a moment in time. It wasn't days, weeks, or changed my behavior. Because before feeling good about my body, that number would have driven me to think about the next diet, the next cleanse, the next punishment of my body, and I would have been on that track. So I think it's important though to know that the foundations can get pretty solid. And sometimes it's a reminder of, from a friend, sometimes it's a conversation, sometimes it's getting back into a book, sometimes it's meditation, sometimes it's journaling it out, But I think it's important to recognize that it's not just an on-off button. I'm just going to feel good about my body and off I go. There'll always be setbacks, and I don't even want to call them setbacks. There'll always just be moments for you to reconsider and consider your path of feeling good about your body.
How long did you feel like the actual foundations had to be for you to get to this point now?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it was something that built over time. Certainly after the competition and reaching that sort of point, it was sort of some months after that that I really started to solidify the information around and also reconciling, like, why did I hate my body so much? What messages did I listen to? Why did I listen to them? What are the possibilities of living a life without listening to those messages? So there was a lot of unpacking. And I don't think I could give you it was from this time to this time. Yeah. But I think the most important thing for people is that they make the decision. Like, it's like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to do something else. And during that journey of ebbs and flows and ups and downs, self-compassion is the key. It's not just easy and it's not just a switch, but it all starts with a decision to prioritize you, your health, and your mental well-being.
And truly, I ask because everything is so Amazon Prime. We expect instant results with fitness and health and food and your body. And so you cannot go from I hate my body or I hate who I am to being Beyonce overnight. Like we all know that this absolutely takes time. But I think the thing that you've kind of been talking about the whole time, and which I really appreciate, is that we live in the gray and there is no black and white. And there is like life is all about balance. And you might sway a little bit more one side or the other, but you're still in the middle of the journey.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a good the grey, even that continuum and that sort of scale of where and how do you want to feel about your body. It's so different for everyone, and that's just why we
Exactly.
always ask, just do one or two things and try it on for size. And then someone's like, oh, that feels good, then they're like, what else can I do? The evolution of it is something very beautiful to watch in people. And I guess having been doing this now for, gosh, 12 years, since the body image movement began. I've had the great pleasure of seeing some of those early people come along, and it's been a decade, and they're just soaring in life. And, there's nothing better than that.
It's nothing better, right? It's so cool to watch them grow with you. So you talked about a couple different things, and a huge part of my coaching philosophy is taking up space and rather than shrinking yourselves, like standing up for who you are and what you believe in. And so what is, a couple things that people can do, not just physically, but just like maybe mentally and emotionally that we can actually have or give us more confidence and feel better about our bodies?
Yeah, I think it's unpacking why we don't, and who have we allowed either into our circles in life that haven't been holding us up, or perhaps have been holding us back. It's amazing how many people are just okay with some of those people in their lives that aren't fully on board, or there for the good and the bad. And I've always said I'd rather have a handful of small friends who are there consistently and always than everyone who kind of could take or leave me. There's that in real life, but I think also we live in a digital world. A lot of people are in social media, and I would recommend getting really discerning about who you're allowing into your life and your space and your heart and your mind with their words. It all has an impact. We know that on Instagram, if we're following people and it's appearance based, that as little as 7 minutes on Instagram can cause depression and anxiety. But if we're following people for what they do or what they're saying or what their hobbies are, that's much more, a lot less negatively impactful, but is a better experience on social media than just looking at people's bodies and wanting to look like them. So doing a big cleanup on social media is really important. Jamila Jamil, who's in my second film, Embrace Kids, she says 4 words that have resonated so much with people around the world, and that is, on social media, block, mute, delete, repeat. And it's like, of course, people have forgotten that they are in the driver's seat, that they get to choose who they allow in. And I think that we need to be really protective about the messages that are getting in. So get really wise on social media and discerning.
Yes, social media is key. And also taking a break from social media is even more amazing for your mental health. That is for sure.
Yes. I just did it on the weekend. I had like a detox 2 days, no laptops, no work, no phones. And I was like, oh, this is awesome.
It's
Yeah.
so awesome. What is an area where you see women unknowingly shrink themselves the most?
In leadership and putting themselves forward and saying the things that they want to say.
Yeah.
I'm a keynote speaker. So I travel around the world and deliver keynotes, and that's what I love. And sometimes I go to conferences and I'm like, where are the women?
Mm-mm.
Where are they? We've got a lot to say and we've got a lot to contribute. But unfortunately, often because of how women feel about what they look like, they're stopping themselves from standing up and putting themselves on that stage with a microphone. And that's just such a crime. Because we do have a lot to say, and the world needs to be a balance of feminine and masculine energy. We need it all. This is not anti-men. It's just, we just need as many women at the table as we need men at the table. Like, that's the balance. Like, it's pretty simple. But unfortunately, I think that a lot of women that I know, whether it's in politics or leadership, I wonder where they stop in that journey because of the thoughts that are holding themselves back about themselves. It really saddens me to think about some of the brilliant minds that I know that they've stopped themselves because of how they feel. And that's not to say that it's not all on us. There's a lot of reasons why we feel bad. I've mentioned the industries and advertising, and it makes people a lot of money and organizations a lot of money for women to feel bad about what they look like. But it's the number one thing that holds us back from using our voice. So we've got to get a handle on that.
Do you think it's mostly feeling the way we do about our body, or also because they're scared of feeling like they're too much or too loud or too bold or
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I just had this conversation with someone last night. And I guess that's just the history of women, men, leadership. There's a lot to unpack there. We are different. We are emotional. Great. Like, maybe the world actually needs a good dose of feeling.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like I just think, and again, it's the balance. So yes, taking up space, using your voice, all of those things have everything to do with confidence. And what has got to do with confidence is how we feel about ourselves. So it's all intertwined. And just yet another reason why we want women, and one of the reasons I'm coming to the US in a few weeks' time, is to empower women to know that the way they look is the least interesting thing about them. And we want to hear what you've got to say.
Mm. What about your self-worth? Like, how do you, instead of attaching it to the way you look, what could you attach it to instead?
Who I am, my values, my integrity, my humor, my humility, the contributions I make to the world, relationships, so many other things.
Yeah.
It's so about what you do, and I love, because I've been doing a lot of work with young people for the last couple of years. As I was named Australian of the Year in 2023, and then for that year and 2024, we reached 1 million Australian children with the embrace message in schools, sporting clubs, in the home, you name it. We had songs, books, films, so many programs. And I loved the possibility and the hope that working with young people gave me, that we could keep them on their path from really little, to feeling good in the world about who they are and what they do, but also just knowing that the least interesting thing about them is the way they look. I loved the aha moment I had with so many young people. And I think we could all focus on that a little bit more. It doesn't mean you don't want to do your hair, or you might want to put a bit of mascara on. You choose the clothes, like do all that. Choose your ears, have fun, whatever. But it's not the be all and end all.
Yeah.
There's so much more to it. And Celeste Barber, I'm not sure if you know who she is. She was an executive producer on the Embrace Kids film, and she's a friend. She was in the film, and she does such a great job in Embrace Kids when she says, "How I feel is like the dominant focus, and it's like how I look is like the PS of me. It's part of who I am, but it's not the feature. Just the
Mhm.
PS over here." And I just love that thought, that's the balance that we've all got the possibility to strike more of a balance on, is that
Yeah.
feeling over appearance, experience over appearance. What I have to say and what I'm doing, contributions to the world, like all of that's more important than appearance. It's not saying don't care.
Yes, yeah. How old were the kids that you were working with on this film and with Embrace Kids?
They ranged from 8, 9 to 14. And we interviewed Jamila Jamil in the film, and we're actually coming to release the middle school program in the US because it's worked so beautifully well here for, um, you know, tens of thousands of students. So we're about to make a big impact, we hope, globally, with the resources, and the evidence, evidence informed resources, that we've got, and the research to help young people continue embracing their body.
Do you feel as though ages 15, maybe high school into college could also utilize a lot of this too? Because I'm like, yeah, wish I
Definitely.
had you when I
So
was 18.
yeah, we have something for every age, because we're about the prevention of
Yeah.
body image issues. We start as early as 3. And then we've got something all throughout schools. We've got something for parents. We've actually got resources for every environment where a child lives, learns, or plays. And then we've got things for adults. So I guess what I'm saying is we've got something for everybody. And I think it's part of the bigger global conversation. And the timing feels just really right now because the world needs a lot more hope. And if we can all feel good about ourselves, we're much more likely to make more contributions, positive contributions to the world. And that's what that self-compassion piece is about. And that's what the resources do. They make people kinder to themselves and they can be kinder to others. And that's a big piece of the equation that's needed right now.
Well, wow, we are so lucky to have you in our life, and thank you for coming to the
Aw,
US next month. We are so excited to have you.
can't wait.
Okay. You're such a big deal. You are such a big deal. I'm so excited to have you on this podcast and just like everyone
Aw.
listen to you. So let's just leave the audience with a couple more things, if you wouldn't mind. What is like a daily habit or practice that you do personally that would help a woman with her body image issues?
Mm. It's funny because the first thing I was going to go to was moving my body, and maybe that's okay still because body appreciation and moving our bodies makes us feel good in our bodies. Um, I wonder. I think also finding the reasons to be grateful and having that gratitude, and that's not like hashtag gratitude, but I just wrote, and I'd love to tell you quickly, if okay, about Embrace You, because that's so people, because we've created resources for the world, and I wasn't able to have like a close touch point like the one we're having today with people who were like, I've seen the film or I've read the book or I've done the thing and I want something more.
Hmm.
So I created an online group called embraceyouonline.com. And Embrace You is where people can come, and it's a community and it's built around body image and supporting one another and storytelling. And I each month do a monthly content drop. And there was a dear body meditation that I did in December. And people just had, it's 2.5 minutes. And people have been using it most days to set them up for the day's success of feeling really good about their bodies. So I take people on a trip around their body and all the amazing things that our bodies can do. And so I think a meditation is really critical in our day. If we're struggling with body image, 2.5 minutes is all you need to commit to. In that group also, the Embrace film is there. I've done my keynote that's in there. I do live Q&A in there. So I think I would love for anyone who's like, I want to embrace my body, but I don't know how. Maybe that's a really great first step. And it was very, very important to me because times are tough for lots of people in lots of different places. It's $47 for an entire year. And I'm just like, give, because my objective in my lifetime is to get as many people as possible to feel free, in their bodies. So I didn't want to give a shameless plug, but I also want to make sure that your listeners know what they could do next in terms of this body image issue. And that's embraceyouonline.com.
Do not even shameless plug because we will absolutely put it in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
And yeah, I mean, you are a wealth of information and can help people of all ages. And we want to give that to everyone else. So we'll absolutely put that in the show notes. What is one thing you just want to leave the audience with today?
Mm.
One quote, one piece of advice, one
Yeah.
thing from you.
I think I just want everyone to know that you get 28,000 days on Earth if you're lucky. That's like the average amount of days that you get to play and adventure and have fun and extract all the things that you want to do from this precious life. You've got one body in this lifetime, and don't be at war with your body. Don't spend your days at war with your body. It's not who you're meant to be. It's not what you're here to do, and the world needs your voice. And I just want you to know that it's possible. It really is possible. And I understand as well how it feels to hate your body. I did it for, a few decades and it really sucks, but it doesn't have to be that way. And sending you lots of love. I just really appreciate people spending their time to listen. It's an exchange of time listening to this that people will never get back. So please take something from this talk and do something. Take action.
Thank you so much, Taryn. I so appreciate you. And everyone, go follow her online, Instagram, Body Image Movement. Tell us where else they can find you.
Yeah, there, LinkedIn, Taryn Brumfitt on LinkedIn. But yeah, at Body Image Movement, and of course, embraceyouonline.com. And yeah, please reach out. It's been such a pleasure to meet you and to hang out with you. And I look forward to catching up with you one day face to face.
Awesome. Thank you so much.